Hi everyone, welcome to Chicago Autism Network's virtual parent workshops. Tonight we are very fortunate to hear from IEP Coach Wanda Malone. Wanda Malone is a special needs mom and a bilingual IEP coach and advocate. She speaks both English and Spanish. She has been an advocate in the special needs community for over 13 years. She collaborates with IEP families and teams from all over the U.S. and has been servicing families remotely for years. She has expertise in executive functioning, dyslexia, dysgraphia, dyscalculia, and PANS and PANDAS. If you'd like to learn more about IEPs, she has an Inner Circle training program, and you can find more information about that on her website at wandamaloneeducationalservices.com. And I will turn the time over to Wanda.
Um, so as Kimmy mentioned, my name is Wanda Malone. I'm a bilingual IEP coach. I have a 17-year-old with autism, ADHD, and PAN and PANDAS. Been doing this obviously for my son, but also within the community. I also am able to service families nationwide. I do a lot of Spanish speaking engagements and helping a lot of families through this process. So what I wanted to do today, it's called 4 Critical Tips and Creating Meaningful Meetings. What I wanted to go through as we have gone through a really challenging year through the pandemic. I know some of the schools are starting to go back into remote or hybrid or in person. I want to make sure you guys have some tips on when you're getting ready to go back to school. What do you do? What should you update? What things to look for? Disclaimer, I'm not an attorney, so this presentation is just giving you understanding education for purposes only. I would never give you legal advice, and all the information that I am giving you is under options covered under the federal law under IDEA. If I do indicate anything state specific, I will make sure in case we do have someone from out of state, but most of the stuff will be Illinois based and federal. What is the purpose of IDEA? I'm sure a lot of you have heard this, but I love to start with this so we get a basis of why we are all here. And really the purpose of the IDEA, which is the federal law that oversees all of special education, is to ensure that every child with a disability has available to them a free and appropriate public education. You're probably going to hear that referred to as FAPE. And that is to ensure that they're receiving special education and related services designed to meet their unique needs. And I have that highlighted because every student is individualized. Every need is very different for every student. And to ensure that we are preparing them for further education, employment, and independent living. I know that's a lot of information here, but a lot of times when you're looking at an IEP, and especially if the kiddos are younger, you're wondering, why am I putting this in here? Really, the IEP is an educational plan. It's really kind of a blueprint of every year you evaluate that IEP, but you are making sure that your child, your student, has the skill sets that they need so they are independent, so they are prepared for the future. So when we look at the IEP at a young age, that is what I'm looking for. Every year we're going to meet, we're going to continue to update and build on those skill sets. How do we prepare for a meeting? And again, this year has been very challenging for all of us, and a lot of the meetings are being done virtually. So there's some things, and I've done a lot of presentations on this. On my Facebook group, Wanda Malone Educational Services, I have a lot of videos, especially preparing for virtual meetings. But the one we're going to go through here today is making sure you know and have some idea of how to best prepare. And the reason I do this is really important so we have some collaboration going into the meeting so there are no surprises. But I don't know if you know that in Illinois, there is a state law that indicates that as a parent, you have a legal right to obtain the draft 3 days prior to the meeting. A lot of times we would get that, and sometimes we have to request it. If you're in a state that does not have such a law, I would suggest that you request in writing that you are requesting to have a copy of what's being presented. As you are a parent and an equal member of the team, you want to be able to prepare and review what's being discussed because the team will have access to see that. But if you don't have copy, then you're not going to be able to have meaningful participation. Plus, you're going to sit at the meeting reading through that, and that's not fair to you. We want to make sure that you're fully prepared. As we go into this year and kids are going back to school, what I'm suggesting my clients and my families make sure that you schedule some type of meeting, touch base with the school to indicate, okay, where are we at? The IEP is typically written for face-to-face instruction. Some school districts were implementing remote learning. Is that remote learning going to work while they're doing hybrid? Is it going to be the actual IEP? So we want to get clarification on that right away. But on top of that, what are your top three to four concerns? And the reason I say that is because this year has been, again, a terrible year for a lot of people. Some students, this being remote has been really good because their anxiety has reduced, their social anxieties, being able to be behind the screen. But a lot of our kids have suffered. They are not obtaining the education that they need. Remote learning is not the best way. So, what are your top three to four concerns? Are those top three to four concerns still represented in the IEP and the goals? Really important. You may have 6 or 7 goals, 15 goals, however many goals. Review those goals. Are those goals currently top priority? Are they relevant? Are they something you really want to work on? If they're not, it's okay to put them on the back burner. It doesn't mean you're going to delete them. It just means that that may not be a priority. But again, that is a part of the discussion. The reason I say the top three to four concerns is because before you go into that meeting, we're going to create a parent educational concern and an agenda. And that way the team knows ahead of time, what are your parental concerns now that we're going back to school? Johnny, is going to need additional support. Johnny is going to need XYZ. We want to discuss that as a team. So when Johnny does go back to school, he's prepared. But the more important thing is making sure that they are allowing ample time for you to have discussion on your concerns. Every IEP, for the most part, has a section that's called parental educational concern. A lot of the times I see that section completely blank. Or it might say parent has no concern, or parent has concern that Johnny is not eating his lunch. Something very vague. This area of the parental educational concern is one of the most important areas for you as a parent, because this is where you see your child, what supports, what concerns you have, what is your vision for your child. And that is important because the team should be taking those into consideration when we're going to discuss the IEP and the goals. So that area, one thing I would tell you, go to your IEP and see if that's completed. If it's not, be sure to update it, because what you had last year may not be the same concerns right now. So really important to do. Again, always remember that you're an equal member of the team. You are the only person that is the consistent person across every year to the team meeting. You know your child best. That is why you want to make sure your voice is truly heard. No surprises at the meeting for sure. And that's why I create an agenda. I like to inform the team, what am I concerned? What am I going to be discussing? What exactly do I need? If it's something that you're looking for, more reading support, let's say it's a specific program, make sure you identify that in the agenda, but have discussion. So we don't want to blindside anybody, nor you want to be blindsided. The other thing too is part of the meeting, you should be getting a notification of conference, which usually will tell you who is going to be in attendance. Look at that list and make sure that everybody that you want to be, that should be in the meeting, is going to be in attendance. If you see a name that you don't recognize, you're welcome to ask. I was just recently in a meeting where they listed someone as a district representative. We didn't know, we looked, couldn't find the person, came to find out that it was the district's attorney. It's fine if an attorney is going to be represented, but a parent should know that an attorney is going to be in the meeting. So make sure that you know who's going to be in attendance. And if someone is not going to be attending, one of the things that happens most of the time is they will tell you right before the meeting. Well, it's very important that they tell you ahead of time, because you do have to sign, especially if someone within that meeting, that you give permission for the excusal of that person not to be in the meeting. So it's really important that you know that that is within your right. And if there is somebody really important, we recently had a meeting. A kid was coming into the school district. The cognitive area was an area of concern for the parent. The school psychologist was sick the day of. We didn't find out until we attended the meeting. So we had to reschedule the meeting because that's an important component and a concern to the parents. You certainly can do that. So want to make sure you know who is going to be in attendance. Going backwards. Tips for during the meeting. One of the things that I tell families when I start an IEP meeting, I usually will ask who is the LEA representative at the meeting, and what that stands for is local educational agency. And for every IEP meeting, you should have an LEA. And that basically is a district representative that is going to be able to make decisions on the district's behalf during that meeting if at any time something needs to be made. The other thing that I always ask is who also is going to be the note taker. The note section of your IEP meeting is important as anything else within the IEP. Everything that's discussed in the meeting should be clearly documented. If you have concerns, if you're going to trial something, if they're going to, whatever, I propose an A for a couple weeks, whatever you discuss should be highlighted. It should not be paraphrased. It should be indicated. And we'll talk in the next session. So it's really important you have this very, very well documented. Be sure to be clear, concise about your concerns and all of your requests. Anything that you're requesting, always put it in writing. During the meeting, ask lots of questions. Remember, you're the parent. You ultimately know your child and you want to know, what is my child's schedule going to be like? Who is going to be with Johnny when he has a meltdown? If he doesn't have a one-on-one, who is going to transport him to the restroom? All of these questions. When is OT going to be delivering services? It is within your right to ask those questions. During meetings, emotions can get high. That is just a natural human thing because we are parents and we love our children. We are going to get to meetings where there's going to be sticky conversations, hard conversations, and emotions are going to go out the roof. I always tell my parents, let's take a break. It is totally okay to say, let's take a 5-minute break. Obviously, when we were in person, we can say we're going to take a break and walk out of the room. Now we're on Zoom. Mute yourself, take yourself off camera. If you need to call your advocate or your attorney, feel free to do so, but take a 5-minute break and come back and reconvene. If the emotions are still high, just completely stop the meeting. If you're not going to get anywhere, be sure you know that emotions are not going to get us anywhere and we're not getting to a conclusion. Reset, take a pause, resume the meeting at another date and time. Really important. A lot of parents don't even know that they can take a break during an IEP meeting. And I tell them all the time, it is okay. Emotions, we are human. When I attend my 17-year-old's IEP meeting, I'm emotional. When I attend my clients, it's very different because I don't have that connection. So, but you have that right to do that. So feel free to use that. And it is a great strategy because it gives you that reset button and come back. What do we do after the meeting? Obviously, after the meeting, you want to find out at what point will you be receiving a final copy of the IEP, which should include obviously the notes section, any updates, anything that was done. When you receive the copy of the IEP, a lot of us, I'm a parent, we put it away. We don't even look at it. Be sure to look at your IEP, especially in Illinois. In Illinois, you have 10 days to make any corrections or updates, agree or disagree to the IEP. On the 11th day, if you don't have any communication with the school, and let's say something is in there that is incorrect and you haven't notified them, they're going to implement the IEP as written because that, with or without your signature, that's within Illinois. However, if you have concerns, if it's incorrect, if wasn't what you discussed, send them an email and say, this is not per my recollection of the meeting. This is not what was discussed. I'm asking you to update XYZ. Once you have updated, please provide me a final draft so I can review and then you can say, yes, this looks good. We're ready to proceed with the IEP. So be sure that you are looking at those notes, making sure that you're looking at the minutes and service minutes. A lot of times when you don't look at the IEP and then 6 months on the road, something is happening and you're like, wait a second, I thought Johnny was supposed to get this kind of service, but we forgot to look at the notes or the IEP and it's not even written in there. So the notes section, it is so, so important. I can't emphasize this enough. It's as important as anything within the IEP. If they refuse to update the notes as you're asking them, ask them to attach the email that you sent to the IEP. Really important. Now, keep in mind the IEP again is a fluid document. So it could be just because we're meeting once a year, you can always meet and amend the IEP. But I'm just saying within the initial, when you do the IEP or the 3-year eval or the initial evaluation, if you have an IEP, review it when you can. Easy. I know it's easier said than done, but be sure to review that because if something is not right, you can correct it and make sure you do it in writing. So now that we have had this kind of year and kids are going back to school, what are the 4 critical areas that I say should be updated before they go back to school or once they're in school? As I mentioned before, the parent educational concerns, a huge area. Go back, look at it. Does it reflect accurately your top 3 to 4 concern? Are they taking that into consideration in the IEP? Is it embedded in the IEP? Your present levels of performance and your goals. Your goals and present levels of performance typically are on the same page and should be exactly the same. If you have a goal in writing, you're writing then the present levels of performance to tell us where that student is for writing. Very, very important. Sometimes we'll see present levels of performance that will say something like, Johnny is having behaviors and having issues. Sorry, guys, my dog is barking in the background. Having behaviors, and it has nothing to do with the goal. Really, really important that you look at your present levels of performance and your goal, one, to make sure those 2 are tied. But what is the current present levels of performance of Johnny? And is the goal still applicable? If it's not applicable, we can look at it, amend it, changing, and do what we need to do. Really important, but those 2 need to be connected. Services, support, and accommodation, again, really important. What accommodations are in place now with remote learning? Do they still need them when they go back to school? Are they going hybrid? How is that going to look? What are the supports going to look like? During hybrid, a lot of our clients would have their cameras off. They would have been taken out by a paraprofessional during a breakout session. Any supports that they need virtually should be indicated in the plan, but also what is going to be necessary for them when they go back to school. Because our kids are at home and have been at home, we've been able to see some of the challenges and the needs that our kids have. So I know for today, I had a meeting where the mom was using a TheraBand and a wiggle seat, and school had no idea that they were using that. Now we put that into the accommodation section because that was helping that student regulate while he was learning. Yes, it is at home, but it's something that can be provided at school as well. The other way around as well. So if you're going hybrid and some of your time is in person and some at home, if there are some accommodations that are being used, such as a wiggle sheet or a TheraBand or fidgets, the school can provide those for you to use at home as well. But you have to ask for them. So again, this area, it's all tied. And to me, it's really important now that the kids are going back to school that we do get these areas updated to ensure that where is Johnny at? Is the goal relevant? Are my concerns taken into consideration? What supports does Johnny need in order to achieve this goal? And what accommodations and supports do they need? Okay. Kimmy mentioned that I do have an IEP inner circle, and I do have it's a 10 over 10 videos, sample letters. It's self-paced. Kimmy will be able to share this presentation with you guys. So I wanted to make sure it's literally, I'm showing you and teaching you the ins and outs. So years of me Googling, learning, you will have it all in videos, letters, sample letters that you can download, use. I also have a private Facebook group that you'll be able to join. And I go in there once or twice a week to answer your personal questions. I also do group coaching, but I wanted to make sure you guys knew about the IEP Inner Circle. And as part of this session today, I am offering a bonus. Anybody that signs up for it will get an IEP review, and that's normally $147. And the actual IEP Inner Circle is $97, and it's lifetime access. So I will continue to update those videos as things arise and we make trainings. All of that information will be up there for you guys to have access. Now I am going to open it up for questions.